So the midpoint of AB will be at 0, 1. Welcome to episode 5 of the coordinate geometry series. Today we will be looking at the calculation of the midpoint of a line. Now we can only find the midpoint of a line if the line is finite in length. That is, the ends of the lines are defined by two distinct points. So if we take this line AB, the midpoint can be calculated separately for x and for y. So if we consider the midpoint to be a point for which the x-coordinate is the mean value of the x-coordinates of A and B, and for whose y-coordinate is the mean value of the y-coordinates of A and B. So we can think of the calculation of the midpoint of a line as a function whose input is 2 points. Okay, so we put 2 points, A and B, into the calculation, and the calculation will output a single point, which is the midpoint that corresponds to 2 points that were put into the calculation. So those 2 points represent the ends of the line. So let's go ahead and take the coordinates of our 2 points A and B, put them into the calculation, and see what we get for our midpoint. So we first need to determine the coordinates of our points A and B. So we can see that point A is at -5, 5, and point B is at 5, -3. So now we can go ahead and calculate the mean of the x coordinates of A and B and the mean of the y coordinates of A and B. So starting with the x coordinates, -5 and 5, to calculate the mean, we add the values and divide by however many there are, right? So when we're calculating the mean in the context of the midpoint, we're always going to have 2 values because there are always 2 points that are used to find the midpoint. So here we have -5, which represents the x coordinate of one end of the line, and 5, which corresponds to the x coordinate of the other end of the line. So adding these together and dividing by 2, we get 5 plus -5, so just 5 minus 5, divided by 2, which gives us 0. So we know that the x-coordinate of our midpoint will be 0. And that makes sense if we look at the points A, B, and just consider the horizontal distance between the 2 points. We can see that this mean calculation just gives us the halfway point of this horizontal distance, which is right on the y-axis, where x is equal to 0. Now, calculating the y-coordinate of the midpoint, well, we need to find the mean of the y-coordinates of A and B. So we're going to use 5 and -3 in our calculation for the mean. So we're taking the mean of 5 and -3, so we add them together and divide by 2. So 5 plus -3 is the same as 5 minus 3, which is 2. So we get 2 divided by 2, giving us 1 for the mean of the y-coordinates. That means our y-coordinate of the midpoint is 1. So the midpoint of AB will be at 0, 1. Now let's just have a look at the vertical distance between A and B. So here we can see that the halfway point between the vertical distance between A and B lies at y equals 1. And halfway point between the horizontal distance, x, is equal to 0. So in the context of coordinate geometry, what finding the mean of 2 x coordinates or 2 y coordinates does is it finds the point that is exactly halfway between those points. So we're doing that separately for x and separately for y, and then we get our midpoint, 0, 1. In this next video, we look at how to use simultaneous equations to find the point at which 2 lines intersect using the equations of the lines. So let's get started.